John McMullen up and at 'em early in Arizona this morning. Appreciate JM getting up as early as he did. He was working late, the post game in the locker room, and got up early for us to hop on board with us today before he gets back over here to the East Coast tomorrow. Yes, the Eagles got beat 38-35. Tremendously exciting game. Certain aspects of it made it one of the greatest Super Bowls ever. The only one that matters to most Eagle fans and streamers here on Birds 365 is the final score. That did not go the Eagles' way. So, yes, it cannot be considered a great ending, but it was still a great football game. But we're trying to figure out a couple things that transpired over the course of the game and why they happened. J-Mac, maybe you got an answer on this one. And I don't want to beat up on Jonathan Gannon because I'm a fan. Maybe not as big as you, but a fan more than a detractor, and he's got his detractors out there. But the Kansas City Chiefs ran the football better than the Philadelphia Eagles. And if I had suggested that here on Birds 365 on Friday, that the Chiefs were going to outrun the Eagles, I would have been shouted down from the highest hilltops. What are you talking about? We're a better running. The Chiefs don't run. Mahomes throws the ball. Hey, we're going to get after Mahomes. We're going to sack Mahomes, and they can't run the football. They ran the football. Part of it was Mahomes, believe it or not, taking off and making some plays with his legs. But Isaiah Pacheco for 76 yards, which, oh, by the way, one of my player props was Pacheco 75 yards. So that was one that I actually hit. He had a couple of really big plays, including a touchdown. C.J. Gardner-Johnson got a couple hits on him late in the game in the fourth quarter, but not till after he had gotten yards. The Eagles' vaunted defensive line got handled because most of the tackles had to be at the second level because the offensive line of the Chiefs gave him holes to run through. Where was the breakdown, John? Was it the first level, the second level, third level? The Kansas City Chiefs were not supposed to outrun the Philadelphia Eagles coming into this game.
No, well, and that's, no, there's two parts of that. One, the defense was not good. 158 yards, 6.1 per carry. Now, much like the Eagles' rushing attack, it's skewed because Mahomes had some big runs, which was surprising. But Pacheco was really good. And he's probably, example number one when you want to put out and explain to people why Miles Sanders probably isn't going to be back here next year, because that's a 7th round pick playing at that level in the Super Bowl. So the thought process around the league, and by the way, I agree with it for the most part, is you can find running backs and you don't have to pay them significant salaries. And when you got to pay all these other players significant salaries, you got to make hard decisions. And that's why the NFL sort of does business the way they do at that position. But look, the Eagles are a good run defense when they're in their 5-man fronts. And when they're not, they're susceptible of being gashed a little bit. And Jonathan Gannon has told numerous people many times that, we're willing to give up 6 or 7 yards here or there if we can limit the explosive plays and shut down the passing game. So everything works in concert. Nothing was working in concert yesterday, which was the problem. But that's, the one part of the equation. The Eagles' running game, and I'll bring it up again, Kansas City's offensive line is good. I hope people in Philadelphia recognize that now. That's a good offensive line. That's a really good offensive line. That's part of it as well. The Eagles running backs, and Miles got hurt on the first play. But, he got hurt on the first play, which was an inside zone, and he's kicking it outside like he's rookie Miles Sanders. If there's one guy who I said, who didn't look like he handled the big stage well, the big Super Bowl, it'd be Miles Sanders. I didn't know who that was on that did not look like Miles Sanders. He had a poor game. And maybe after that first play, maybe a lot of it had to do with the injury, because he was in the locker room and he didn't talk to us, but he had a wrap around his hands. So I think he's hurt pretty badly. So maybe it's just as simple as his injury. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts was a running game. That's
Mhm.
it. They had 35 yards rushing. Take Jalen Hurts out. 35 yards rushing with Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott. So Jalen Hurts carried this team offensively. And you know, some of the receivers played great. Devonta, AJ, Dallas, Wes Watkins. They need an upgrade at third receiver. I think we all know that now. Zach Pascal. You know, he's a solid. You know, whatever you want to call him. He does the dirty work, but he's not really all that relevant in the passing game. He had one nice catch. I think went for 9 yards or something.
Right.
But
And got him a first down. It kind of
yeah,
made up for the bad offensive pass interference penalty
yeah.
took
Was
early on.
that? I didn't see that. I guess he was blocking
Oh,
too
yeah, he was
early.
blocking before the ball ever got there.
Oh yeah.
It was a righteous call. So he did make the play. And yes, I agree
You
with
know, that's one thing I will say. Kansas City is so brilliant at rub routes and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, for all the accolades we heap on the Eagles coaching staff, and I think it's a very good coaching staff. And as I said, I think Shane Steichen and John are both going to be head coaches in this league within the next week. Um, it's 2 years now, and they have all these issues. Now, part of it is just RPOs. Sometimes, you know, the illegal man downfield stuff. But when you can't run a rub route, I mean, can't they get that right at this point?
the Eagles were more penalized than the Kansas City Chiefs, and I do think it was a factor in the ultimate factor, no, but a factor in the game. You're right. The Kansas City Chiefs staff outcoached the Philadelphia Eagles staff. That might be a bitter pill for some to swallow, but it is absolutely the case. Let me ask you a Ruth question because you're better at this than I am. I should know it, but I don't. So shame on me. So I'm asking you. Kadarius Toney, who caught the go-ahead touchdown on the fake coming through the line, stop back the other way. Darius Slay screaming and pointing and just ended up standing there. And Kansas City takes the lead on the touchdown. And of course, the big Toney run on the punt return that was a line drive laser by Aaron Sippa. Shame on him.
They went with Brett Kern.
Yeah, Brett Kern was pretty pitiful during his games with the Philadelphia Eagles. So it was the lesser of two evils. Well, we found out it wasn't even the lesser of two evils. It was just an evil. The Chiefs acquired Kadarius Toney for a 6th-round pick and a conditional third-round pick, a compensatory third-round pick that the Chiefs got because Ryan Poles, the assistant general manager in Kansas City, signed with the Chicago Bears. So the Chiefs were granted a compensatory pick because they lost someone from their front office. This offseason, the Eagles lost a whole bunch of guys from their front office, going to other teams all over. Like there was a month period time, John, where every week we're talking about, oh, the Eagles lost this person, the Eagles lost that person, the Eagles lost Catherine Rice. How come they didn't get any compensatory picks? Was it just the fact that you had to be a general manager, get a general manager's position, that you would actually get a compensatory pick for it? Is that because Kansas City took major advantage of that? Toney was one of the stars of the game.
Yeah, Ryan Poles is GM. The Eagles lost Ian Cunningham and Brandon Brown, who were, you know, it's for minority hirings, spur minority hirings. But they're assistant GMs. They're not GMs. So it's only for GMs.
So shame on them that they couldn't get a GM job. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Why couldn't you get a GM job and get the Eagles a compensatory?
And by the way,
so they could have traded for Kadarius Toney.
I think Ian was a finalist. It might have been Tennessee. It might have been Arizona. It would have been interesting because he's very close to being a GM. He's getting interviews and all that kind of stuff. And you know, when he does become a GM, Chicago's going to get the pick, not the Eagles. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they got screwed a little bit. Howie said that when he lost him, specifically Brandon Brown, because he lost him to the Giants. So he was even more upset about that. But man, it's just it's goofy rule, and
And
they but one of the other things about those touchdowns, that plays into it, I should have brought up. Kadarius Toney caught one pass. Sky Moore caught one pass. Like Andy pulls this stuff out. Like nobody on the field thinks these knuckleheads are getting the football, and then bang, Andy pulls it out, and they're like, maybe we should have been paying attention to Sky Moore on that play.
and Andy Reid should get credit for it, as should Patrick Mahomes, because he's got to pull the trigger on that. Now, they were so I said this last night. I could have gotten the ball to either one of them. And I'm not much of a thrower anymore. When I was 14, I could whip the football. These days, it's not coming off my shoulder like a howitzer, but I could have completed those passes. Those guys were so wide open.
Yeah, it was disappointing all through the season. And, number 2 defense gave up 14 points in the divisional round and NFC championship game. And you're going to have those people as well, Jody. They're going to say, well, they finally played somebody. They made it through 19 games and they finally played somebody. Well, you're going to have that narrative as well.
Which is fine. And when those people start, I'm just going to say 38-35. Come on.
Yeah, it was a close game. It wasn't like it was a blowout.
That game could have gone either way. A field goal
at
59-52 of the game, and you're going to sit there and go, oh, they finally played somebody, and they got beat. They got beat by this much. They lost to the best team in football by this much. They were this close to being the best team in football. So you can stick they didn't play anybody all year long where the sun doesn't shine, because the Super Bowl absolutely could have. Again, this bears repeating. The Eagles could have won the game. I will not say they should have won the game.
No, I don't say they should have won the game. I don't say they should have.
Right.
I say they blew a golden opportunity. Not that they should have won the game. I going into halftime watching Rihanna and doing the JAKIB halftime show in unbelievable volumes, trying to hear Devin Caney and Mark Barzetta. I was pretty confident the Eagles were going to win that game. And then I wasn't as confident when Kansas City went out and went right down the field. I do not think the Eagles handled the extended halftime well. I don't. I mean, they were a completely different team in the first half compared to the second half. And everybody says halftime adjustments. I forget who said it, but I loved when he said it. It might have been Kelsey. No, it was Peyton Manning. We go in, we go to the bathroom, we have a couple orange slices, and come back out. The adjustments are going on as the game is going on. Now, you had a little bit more time because of the Super Bowl halftime show. So maybe Andy was able to do some more things, but I just don't think they played well in the second half. I don't think they played well.
And if it's a learning experience, Johnny Mac, as I said
maybe
earlier,
that's the experience. They went through it before.
That's what I was leaning toward. What I said earlier. Yes, they're going to lose guys. The roster that is going to start next year's season, I don't think will be as talented as this year's roster, unless you have guys take unbelievable steps. But A.J. Brown is as good as he is, and Devonta Smith already is as good as he is, and Jalen Hurts finished runner-up for MVP. So I don't know how much more upside there is for some of the key guys, but they're going to need them to take even further steps. because they're going to lose guys to free agency. So this roster is going to be probably lesser to start the season than it is to finish the season. But the experience of being in the Super Bowl is something that they may be able to garner from going forward for next year. We shall see. I see that Paul Domwich is in our ready room. We're going to punch up Damo next here on Birds 365.